Sue me, I like that a little too much. I like to listen to it every now and then more than once. Hi, everybody. Welcome to this special Thursday edition of Cup of Ray. I'm out here live at the Deck Bar and Grill at Isla del Sol, and it's Thursday. It's October 8th, and of course, you know, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are in Chicago tonight against those Chicago Bears. The first of our 4 primetime games this year. I know we have, 3 Monday nights, or Sunday night, Thursday night, and 2 Monday night games. And, of course, we talk now. Of course, the NFL has the flex scheduling toward the end of the season. So just wanted to bring a little Cup of Ray out here. I came down here early so I get all the equipment set up so we can hit the ground running. We're going to have all of our pregame, halftime, and our postgame show after tonight's game against the Chicago Bears. So, again, welcome to Cup of Ray, powered by 320 Solar. And I want to thank, again, the fine folks over at 320solar.com. Power up with 320 Solar. Gain your energy independence today. So, right, it is week 5. So the Bucs are 3-1 going into this game. After that first week in New Orleans, you know, everybody was like, it wasn't so much Katie bar the door. The Saints had found their offense a little earlier than the Bucs had, and Tom Brady was still adjusting to the rest of the team. The defenses always start strong, it seems, but this year especially, with no preseason and the very lack of practice time the players had and such. So there was some sloppy football. And the Bucs have seemed to find their way the last 3 weeks, of course, winning three straight games in a row, going to 3-1. The Chicago Bears, on the other hand, they actually won their first 3 games. They came out of the box straight out, but then they lost last week 19-11 against those Indianapolis Colts. And when you say 19-11, you talk to anybody who watched the game or broke the game down, like Mr. Blake Anthony did there on Sports Talk 49, and, you know, the game wasn't even that close. But, you know, it's funny that you say 19-11, it's an 8-point game, and you say it wasn't even that close. But today I kind of wanted to talk about, you know, the history between the Bucs and the Bears. And it's not just that, but when the 2020 season schedule came out, and of course you knew ahead of time because schedules go on, you know, we go back and forth playing different divisions. And one of the things I really loved about this year, not for any other reason than the fact that it just harkens back to the days of the NFC Central or the black and blue division, was the fact that this year the Bucs play the Chicago Bears. They play the Green Bay Packers. We play Minnesota Vikings. And of course we play those Detroit Lions on Christmas weekend. And that game time is to be determined, not yet to be determined. But this is the first of those games that throw back. So not only in a season where you see us playing the world champion or the defending champion Kansas City Chiefs and the Los Angeles Rams, and of course with Denver Broncos 2 weeks ago, and then last week with the LA Chargers at Raymond James Stadium, but that NFC Central division schedule, I just love these games. You know, for 25 years the Bucs played in the NFC Central, and you know, and we used to just beat each other up. You know, there's a reason why they still, and they don't call it as much, and if they do, I don't really know about it, and maybe I don't follow it as much, but the reason why it was called the black and blue division was because the teams just seemed to beat up on each other year in and year out. You had the Vikings, the Lions, the Bears, and the Bucs, and they would just beat the crud out of each other. And the Bears lead the all-time series, so the Bucs have some catching up to do. They got quite a bit of catching up to do. But, you know, the history between the Bears and the Bucs, for me, it always goes back to the fact that growing up, the Bears games, until you got into 85 and then 86, of course, with the 4-6 of Buddy Ryan defense and Mike Ditka coach Bears and the Super Bowl shuffle and the Super Bowl champions of 86. Trying to get tickets that year was incredibly difficult. But years before that, through the early 80s and then even into the late 80s, the Bears, because it was a division game, we played them every year. And of course, because we had the everyone would take turns with the season tickets. Of course, I've said before that at one point we had 18 of them there in the late 90s, early 2000s. In Raymond James, all around the stadium. My family did, and of course I had my two. Used to be at the north end zone west side, and then I moved to the west side in the south near the Cannons. And of course I've spoken in the past how many Mike Allstott touchdowns we used to see, and how much fun we used to have there. But used to always seem that the Chicago Bears tickets were there for the taking. And even though we knew that he was a great player and we knew they were a good team, I actually got to see a few times Sir Walter Payton, running back for the Chicago Bears. Just sweet to watch him. Almost as dynamic as Barry Sanders was, another divisional foe with the NFC when the Lions would be in town, and how many times Barry Sanders would break Buccaneers defensive backs' ankles, or Barry Sanders would leave a shoe and still run for 80 yards. But getting to go to those Chicago Bears games and getting to see sweetness Walter Payton was one of my memories that I'll hold dear, probably for just about all of my life. Just watching, I was actually at the game, and I was doing some research this week on the history between the Bucs and the Bears, and just looking back at some of the old days. And I actually Googled, if you will, Walter Payton flying at the old big sombrero at Tampa Stadium. And it was that one run, he was running toward the north end zone, which is right where our season tickets were, right there, middle of the uprights. And Walter Payton actually takes flight from had to be the 10 or 11 yard line and just flies straight into the goal or into the end zone. And of course, years later, not too many years later, but years later, it would be reminiscent of Michael Jordan going through the lane and going up for a slam dunk. And somehow Michael Jordan would leave from the foul line and would fly through the lane, and without touching anybody or anything would gain altitude as he went to the rim. And that's what Walter Payton seemed to do. He seemed to defy gravity sometimes, whereas Barry Sanders would defy speed of gravity with the way he could cut and turn and sharp and run. Walter Payton would just giving it his all, but he would just run and he would take flight and fly over the offensive and defensive lines. And of course, he scored a touchdown on that play, and that was one of the highlights for me as a young guy. Going to those Bucs and Bears games, because for 25 years, again, as I mentioned, the Bucs were in that NFC Central. Of course, the Buccaneers started their first year, 1976, their first year in the league. They were actually in the AFC West, and they played an all AFC schedule that year. And of course, that's some of the history we had with the Chargers, and that we played the Chargers that first year, or the Broncos. I'm sorry, but we played in the NFC Central for 25 years, from 1977 through 2002, right? And 2002 would be the year that the NFL would create the new NFC South division, and the Bucs would move into the division now where we are with the Saints, the Panthers, and the Falcons. And a sweet little story to that. A sweet little end to that, if you will, is even though the Bucs had moved in 2002, they moved to the NFC South, and of course they would still finish the year, the last game of the year, last regular season game that season, even after the Bucs had moved to the NFC South, was against the Chicago Bears, and the Bucs would win that game. And of course, everyone out there knows I'm already going towards this. That was the year that we marched straight through the playoffs, beat the Raiders in Super Bowl 37, and became world champions. And the Glaziers and John Gruden and the team got to come home and raise the Lombardi Trophy, and we still have it, and we're still seeking our second one, right? A lot of people like our chances, and Johnny Dean's going to say it's going to take a year or two to develop, and we're all going to say, let's not put the cart way before the horse. Even for tonight's game, again, even though the Bears won their first 3 weeks and then lost last week against what some would agree to is a very good Indianapolis team, they're still 3-1, and the Bucs are 3-1, which is why this Thursday night matchup going in tonight's probably the best. To me, it's the best Thursday night matchup so far this year, and it's not just because those Buccaneers are playing tonight against the Chicago Bears, but it's two 3-1 teams. Now, the Bears aren't in first place in the NFC Central. The Packers are, right? But the Bears are in second. The Buccaneers are in sole possession of first in the NFC South, and they look to maintain that first place in the NFC South with a nice victory tonight in Chicago. Kickoff weather tonight's going to be around 57 degrees, upper 50s. Perfect football weather there at Soldier Field. I'm going to bring someone in here. I got someone in the studio. I'm going to bring him on here just so we can say, hey, how do you do? Let's welcome to the Cup of Ray, the Dude. Dude, how are you today?
Hey, good, brother. I want to clear the stage for a minute because guess what today is? Do you know what today is? I know what today is. Do you know what today is?
I don't know what today is. What is today?
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, in conjunction with Bucks Report, the Deck Bar and Grill, and 320solar.com, we are here to welcome you to Thursday night football. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the Chicago Monster of the Midway Bears. Now,
old school football.
If you're not down at the Deck Bar and Grill, let me tell you what you're going to miss out on. You're going to miss out on your chance to get a key to win a brand new Chevy Silverado. You're going to miss out on your chance to win all kinds of gift certificate and Buccaneer swag. You're going to get a chance. You'll miss out on meeting Ray Kennedy, Blake Anthony, Joshua Cole Allen, Peter H. effing Blake, Philip Schwagler, Travis Faley, and the godfather of solar power, Frank Ammons. You're going to get a chance to miss all that. You know what else you're going to miss?
What are we
You're going to miss great food, great drinks, great atmosphere, and you're going to miss watching the game with Bucks fans.
Yes.
Not sitting on the couch while someone complains that, oh, why isn't there another presidential debate on? We should be watching that. This is stupid. So you're going to miss out if you're not there. But if you can make it there, make sure you tune into our pregame, halftime, and postgame show live right from where that man in the purple bandana is sitting. So huge shout out to Ray. Hey, everybody, just so you know, the guy you see on camera, his day started roughly at 6 a.m. this morning, where he got his happy ass up and drove all the way to North County to get all the equipment for this watch party. And he's been there. He's got it set up. And as we speak, Peter Blake is on his way from Tampa. Joshua Cole Allen is probably pulling in the parking lot. And guess what? All they have to do is fine tune it because Ray Kennedy has got their back. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you still got plenty of time. It's 4:32. The game does not start for just under 4 hours. Get down to the Deck Bar and Grill Isla del Sol. Get your chance to win a Chevy Silverado. Win some Buccaneer swag. Great, dude. They got a $5.99 burger there today. That's the size of, dude. It's the size of your head. Okay.
Yeah, is it my head? Because that's a big burger.
well, but you're my big burger, buddy. We want to thank everybody who's tuned in. This is the third live show on Bucks Report today. We started earlier today with Beware the Bay at 8:30 in the morning. You know, so you had some Bucks talk to actually listen to on your way to work instead of, well, we'll stop there. 3 o'clock, Blake Anthony, I almost called him Blake Anthony, broke down some film for you so you knew what to expect today. Ray Kennedy's here to paint a lovely picture of what's in store for the day, throw some history of the series at you, maybe talk about the Chicago Fire. No, not the soccer team, the actual Chicago Fire.
149 years ago today, October 8th,
149 years ago today. So nearly as old as the dude. We appreciate each and every one of you that watch. We ask one thing of you. Peter wants passion, excitement, no nonsense. We're asking one thing of you. Share, like, repeat. Thank you, guys. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you to the Deck Bar and Grill. Thank you to 320solar.com. Thank you to Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy. And just so you know, I was on Blake's show a little bit earlier. Have to say it here. The dude predicts 31-21 Buccaneers. Ronald Jones, second game in a row with over 100 yards rushing. And wait for it, Devin White with a pick six to seal the game.
Ooh, yes, thank you. Yes, dude, thank you so much. I appreciate you coming on here, my friend, and I'm sure we'll be talking to you again.
All right, brother.
Take care, my friend. So, want to talk a little bit about that history, but, you know, I'd like to work it back to the fact that I, too, believe that Rojo has to get off tonight. And, of course, we know between Akeem Nicks, and even though they'll say that a Khalil Mack isn't 100% healthy, I still say that the Khalil Mack and that Bears defensive line can put the pressure on Tom Brady in the Buccaneers backfield. The way to eliminate that pressure, use the pass or use the run to set up the pass. Of course, being Bruce Arians and no risk it, no biscuit, they're probably going to try to use the pass to set up the run. But, yeah, you don't change it. It's working so far. Had a little bit of a trip up again in New Orleans. I want to get a couple of your comments here, because then I want to ask. I mean, some of y'all are going to want to comment on this. I'm going to go ahead and put a few comments on here. So let me get over to my comments, and let's see here. So Misador says NFC Central. Yeah, right. Me, don't even go there. I know you remember those days. Drew Pagona says, how do you expect the running back ratio to end up between Rojo and Vaughn? I think Brady is building a good relationship with Vaughn, like he did with Scotty Scooter Miller during training camp. And Drew, I like that you say that, because I think one of the highlights for me, and there were many highlights. Of course, it was late. It was after that turnover before halftime, and of course the third and the fourth quarter last week against those Chargers. But one of my highlights to the game for me was when Vaughn scores that first touchdown, and he goes over and Brady just picks him up, right? And you love to see that celebration. You love to see that, because that's the camaraderie. That's what you're looking for, not just from a leader, but you're looking for with all of your players. And that's the kind of stuff that puts teams on winning streaks. And that's the kind of stuff that the Bucs can possibly use, or going to use, to make it 4 in a row tonight in Chicago. Let's see here. Johnny Dean says, keys to victory tonight is making sure the run game is efficient, and they got some passes into the seam with Cameron Brate. I totally agree. Make the Bears throw the ball and win the turnover battle. Right on all points, JD. Misador says, Drew Pagonis, Rojo will probably get 10 to 13 touches. I don't know how much Vaughn will get. I think we're going to probably see Vaughn, the way he caught that ball last week in the flat, scoring that first touchdown on that 9-yard reception. I got to wonder, we're probably going to see him probably coming into the Shady McCoy like role a little bit, but still like to see Keyshawn get that ball and run it a little bit. But I'd like to see the Bucs go ahead and of course, Peter Blake would say victim of volume. Rojo, like to see Rojo get those touches tonight. Christopher, let's see here. Christopher Cole says, and beautiful whim. I'm not even knowing where we're going with that, Chris. I'm going to go ahead and skip past that. Let's go ahead. And Drew has another comment. He says, Johnny brought it up earlier with me, and I fully agree with this. This would have been a great game for our throw. Yes, it would have been. Although, if that means the Bears would have had to wear their throwbacks, and going back to the Bears, the Bears are the one of only two teams that were originally 120 years ago that are still in the league when it was formed in those Canton, Ohio tire stores, or the businesses. In this case, it was the Staley Starch Company, and the Bears were initially called the Deuce Staleys. Two Staleys. Anyway, the Staleys were their first team. And then when they would move later on, of course, and George Halas would become a majority owner in the team, and they would change their name to Chicago Bears. And of course, along the way, they would actually, again, from the University of Illinois, they would actually get the Monsters of the Midway nickname. But yeah, one of only two teams. Can anybody out there guess the other team right now still in the league? We've talked about it here on Cup of Ray, because you know how I like to wax historical, but I'm going to throw that point out there. Another thing I want to talk about, but I want to get into it. I want to make sure I give it full. I want to give it full time. I don't want to get into it until I'm ready to talk about it for sure. Misador says Evans is clutch in the edge. Yes, I agree. Me also. See, I'm sorry, guys. My mouse is not functioning 100% properly. But let me see if I can get these comments to go down a little more. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and I'll remove those Let's see, clutch in the edge. I'm going to go ahead and remove that comment. Let me just do that. Sorry, guys. Let's see here. And then going to go ahead and work with that. And again, sorry about that, guys. So here's what I want to talk about. I'm not even going to talk about the 2000 Baltimore Ravens. I'm not going to talk about them right now. But we're talking about the 86 Bears, right? We're talking about Richard Dent and the Refrigerator Perry, right? And Mike Singletary, and that defense, that Buddy Ryan 4-6 defense, that was just probably the best defense in the history of the NFL. But I say that with my tongue slightly in my cheek, if you will, because even though we can also talk about the 2000 Baltimore Ravens and that great defense, I believe that the Buccaneers defense, and you don't even give them a year, we could say the 2002, but I'm just talking about that Tony Dungy, the Tampa 2, because as much as the 4-6 defense and Buddy Ryan, and as much as they changed the sport of football on the defensive side, as big of a imprint in the NFL they had, the Tampa 2, right? For decades, to Tampa 2, there's still coaches implementing, or at least implementing some variation of the Tampa 2. But you look at, again, with the Warren Sapp and the Derek Brooks and the players we had on defense, Simeon Rice, who's still not in the Ring of Honor, but then also your John Lynch and your Rondé Barbers, who some agree, and I do think that cases can be made for they should be and will possibly someday be in Canton in the Hall of Fame, the defense the Buccaneers had. So you guys tell me out there, for those of you that are around and remember the 86 Bears defense and how great they played, and they were a stifling defense, right? Buddy Ryan let them guys just fly around. Put them up against the Buccaneers defense, the Warren Sapp, the Derek Brooks, the Shelton Corals, the Rondé Barbers, the Johnny Lynches. Put them up against that defense, and you guys tell me which defense obviously I think that we're going to say we like better is the Buccaneers defense. I remember the Super Bowl shuffle. I remember the 86 Bears. I remember how great it was to watch that team play, and it was fun to watch them dominate. And even though they were in our division, they were in the NFC Central with the Bucs. So, here's how I root. First of all, we root for the home. You always root for the home team, just like we're rooting for those Rays tonight, right? In Game 4 against the Yankees, the Rays lead the series 2-1. The Rays go up against the Yankees tonight. Would love to see the Rays put another win in a notch in the win column and go up 3-1 on those Yankees, pardon me. But we always root for the home team, right? And then you're supposed to have a problem with your division, and you kind of do, right? Because we don't, although we go back and we remember how the Saints got screwed on that non-pass interference call a couple of years back. It was just so egregious, and they basically get screwed out of going to the Super Bowl. But you always root for the team. Hey, the fellas are here. Get inside and start setting up, fellas. I can't figure it out. So you root for the divisional teams, you root for the home team, but then you start to root for other teams in the league. And you always have teams that are your favorites. Maybe it's because a player that you know or followed in college, or maybe a player that came from your team has moved on to another team now, and then you've got a vested interest in that team. But in 86, I was rooting for the Bears. I'd never seen a Super Bowl shuffle. I mean, Vince McMahon, watching Vince McMahon, but watching the Bears do something, the NFL was really starting to take over as far as with the creative side and really getting into all sorts of media. And they come out with the Super Bowl shuffle, which looking back on it, it did not stand the test of time in any way, shape, or form. But it was a lot of fun to see and be around when it was happening. 86, that's not too long ago. We're talking 34 years. Okay, it's not like 100 years ago. It's not like when the Bears were called the Staleys back in the beginning history of the NFL. But I'm going to go ahead and see if anyone's got any comments out there. Again, thanks for joining me for this special. I just couldn't wait. I wanted to get started. It's like that for game day. Like I've always said, usually it's Sundays. Sunday morning, I'm raring to go, and I wake up and I'm starting to pace. I got the living room has I'm wearing in the carpet, I'm wearing a groove where I'm just waiting for the game to start. And, I'm going over all the matchups and I'm looking at the injury reports and trying to figure out, and I'm not even paying attention to any of the other games. That's why I don't do fantasy football. And I'm not taking away from fantasy football. I understand and I totally appreciate people that can do it. And it's not a question of whether I think I could do it if I wanted to. It's just a question of I always end up picking Buccaneers for my fantasy football teams. And then I root. And I'm like, I just don't do it from a logical way. And like we always have when I have Harry, and Harry's on vacation, so he's not going to be joining us today with his inside bets. Look for Harry to join me again next week with all that inside information. He had some great picks again last week because he's always got his eyes on the prize. And Harry says, don't bet with your heart. It's kind of the reasons why I don't do fantasy football. So let me go back to a couple of these comments here, everybody. Let's see here. Misador says 52. Wait, what's 52 points? Let me go up a little bit. Let's go. Frank Ammons says, let's go Bucks in the Bucks report. Yes, Frank Ammons. And Frank Ammons from 320 Solar. Power up with 320 Solar, and call the people again. Like I always say, if you have any information, glean that information, because moving forward, it's not like we're talking about a technology that's going to be by the wayside. We're talking about the future. The future is now, and the future is now to gain your energy independence. Get yourself off the electric grid. Get rid of those. I could tell you all a story right now. I had a mix up with our energy company today, and maybe I'm fearful telling this story, but they had actually messed up. It was a complete clerical error on their end. But I go to the store this morning, and I come home, and I've got three kids, my daughter from college also, and they're all homeschooled. They're homeschooling, and we're getting everything done. I run to the store. I come back. I walk in. The wife says the power's off. I'm like, what? So I've got three children that are all supposed to be in school. My daughter was rendering a computer animation that she was working on, and she's got to send it down to Ringling down here in Sarasota, which is the college that she's homeschooling from. So we had to go 45 minutes on the phone to get this clerical error on their end straightened out. They apologized profusely, and I'm not saying that everybody's perfect, but I'm using this as a direct story. You have your energy independence in your solar. You get to find folks at 320 Solar to come and give you the information you need and then get you that solar, that energy independence. And you don't go through the problem I had today. I never would have thought that I'd have three children all at school, all homeschooling, and they lost an hour of school. They had to get back in there. My wife had to get on and email all the teachers, apologize again, tell them sorry, we lost our, the power was out. So we got it all back on. So everything got taken care of. Again, the people apologized profusely, but sometimes apologizing is a little too late. And if you've got that energy independence, that never happens. The kids never stop at schooling. The kids never get off school. And I get to have a more relaxing morning. Ben Cornett says, low and closer game than expected tonight. Bucks 23, Bears 13. Now, Ben, that sounds like an old NFC Central game. That sounds like a black and blue division game right there. Because, back in the day, especially when you had that Bears defense and the Bucks would be struggling to find their offense, how many of those games were a 23-13, a 2017, a 13-10 type of games? Now, the Bears have shut the Bucks out. They've actually shut them out 5 times. The Bucks have shut the Bears out twice, held them to no points. Wouldn't it be nice if the Bucks shut the Bears out tonight in Week 5 and take it to 4-1, 4 games in a row? That would be a nice way to have it. That'd be a nice Thursday night football game, wouldn't it? Eric Hart. Let's see what Eric Hart. Sometimes this thing just doesn't work. Let's see here. So. Yep, that's just not going to. Let me get this. And Eric Hardnett says, do you think Scotty Miller big game and Mike Evans big? Now, Scotty's got the hip thing going on, right? And he had the injury going into last week against the Chargers, and he still came in and played. And he's got such good hands this year. And Tom Brady really seems to be getting his timing down with Scotty. But Scotty was limited in practice a little bit this week, and he still has that hip thing going on. So it's one of those things where could it happen? Could they go to him? He's playing, right? But if they can get a light load on him and we can lean on some other players, get some other players some FaceTime on a nationally televised Thursday night football game, wouldn't break my heart at all. And then to have Scotty coming in and getting healthy, of course, just like your Leonard Fournette will not be playing tonight. And of course, you're not going to have Chris Godwin either. Drew Pagonis says, again, my call tonight is that Winfield Jr. gets his first interception tonight. That would be awesome. Because that was that wasn't at the tail on Winfield going into the season. Ball hawk. He's a ball hawk. But now this guy, just like his father, Winfield Sr., he's coming up and he's covering. Now, Winfield Jr. plays safety, and, of course, Winfield Sr. played a cornerback. But we tell the story again how Winfield Sr. kept the junior on his knee and was showing him, breaking down tape and showing him from just little league, showing him from just young age. Of course, I heard him this week with Casey Phillips from the Bucks, from Buccaneers.com, and she was talking to him. And when's the first time your dad introduced you to football? And Winfield Antoine says, he was 2 years old. His dad was on his knees and he was basically running around. He was tackling him, and she's like, "Wow, tackle football starting at 2 years old." So you want, and the thing on him was we knew coming in he was a ball hawk because he always seems to be in the right place. But the way the Bucks got him coming up and he's covering the tackles and he's coming up in there, and the Bucks are forcing and they're bringing the defense to the offense instead of letting the offense come to them. But yeah, Winfield tonight getting an interception, that would actually be really good. 84 Bears, Ray Kennedy, not the 86 Bears. Okay, Johnny Dean. I meant 84. So 86, they were pretty good too. But yeah, Johnny Dean, the professor, is always correcting me. But again, I apologize. I had a little bit of technical difficulties. The guys are still in trying to get set up for our pre-show here. Misa Dor says the 0-2 Bucks statistically are the highest scoring defense in league history. Yeah, no, and that's kind of where I'm going with that. When I talk about those 0-2 Bucks versus the 84 Bears and being the best defense. Let's see. Ryan Allen says yak, yards after catch, definitely. Johnny Dean says 85. Mistor says 85. Johnny Dean 85 season. If it was the 86 Super Bowl was when the Super Bowl actually had occurred. But we could go back and forth, guys. But I'm that basically that Bears defense versus that Bucks defense. Eric Hardnett, 0-2 Bucks had the best defense, and that's what I'm saying, Eric. That's why. Going into tonight's game again, because we play the Vikings, the Packers, and the Lions this year, and the Bears. The Lions, the Vikings, and Bears. Oh my! But because that's tonight being the Thursday night football game, both teams being 3-1, but it being a throwback game, throwing back to when the Bucks did play in the NFC. It just feels good. It feels right. I kind of wish it was here at Raymond James Stadium. Kind of wish it was 57 degrees here. It's beautiful out here at the deck. I'm at the outside station. Of course, we have our studio set up inside. We're gonna have our dual camera setup shots tonight. But it's beautiful out here at the deck at sunset, and the dinner's just getting started. Let me see where I left off here. Christopher Cole says, so who do you think is the best tackle in this past draft? I believe Wirfs is the best. Well, obviously, right, Christopher? Totally agree, especially so far early into this four games into the season. Tristan Wirfs there at right tackle for the Bucs, definitely. And you kind of had that feeling after the Bucs picked him. I mean, they go back and they talk about it. When you're a powerlifting champion at Iowa, and Iowa is famous for powerlifting, and Tristan Wirfs is the powerlifting champion, not only that playing that tackle position, but the strength of this guy. I want to see, I tell you what, if we were doing Oklahoma drills or back, I want to see, and you talk about two opposing forces just boom, like splitting an atom. I would like to see Vita Vea go up against Tristan Wirfs, right? Of course, Vea plays on the inside, but the two of them would probably not give an inch. That would be an interesting matchup. Luckily, we both have them here for the Buccaneers, so we don't have to worry about that playing in the season. Ryan Allen says Ravens D again. And I work it back to the fact that, Trent Dilfer was the quarterback for the Ravens when they win that Super Bowl here in Tampa Bay. I'm kidding about Trent. But anyway, Johnny Dean says again, 85 Super Bowl, but the 84 season. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and say that. Oh, whoa, me says the 78 Steelers best defense of all time. Now, I'm not going to argue. I mean, I remember the steel curtain. And who didn't want that Mean Joe Green jersey on that Coke commercial? And for those of you out there that, are just a little bit younger, you don't know. But there was a great Coke commercial and Coca-Cola commercial, and Mean Joe Green's limping back to the locker room, and it's been a long game, and he's got his jersey over his shoulder pads, and the kid just stops and goes, "Hey, Mean Joe," and he's like, "What kid?" And here, have it. And he's like, no. He's like, "Yeah, go ahead, here, have it." And so Mean Joe takes the Coke and drinks it, and then takes his jersey and throws it, but the jersey's wet, and of course you can't give that jersey away in a COVID 2020, right? No, I'm kidding. I don't want to bring that up. I mean, it is. They don't let the players exchange jerseys after the game, but in the commercial, the jersey's soaking wet, and it knocks the kid over, and he ends up with a concussion. No, I'm just kidding. But he gets the jersey. But my point is that everybody who saw that commercial in our generation, we wanted that Mean Joe Green jersey, right? And steel curtain was a good one. So I give you that. The Steelers defense was tough. Patriots, the greatest franchise ever. I don't know if I can argue that, Ryan. I'm a clown up on a wire here, so I don't have anything behind being able to argue that point. Maybe the San Francisco 49ers, and I say that because of DeBartolo and the way he kept that team, and Bill Walsh and that West Coast style offense, and Joe Montana, and then they seamlessly go right into Steve Young and the championships. And they didn't maybe win as much in the 20-year period like the Patriots have with Tom Brady and the team they've had in the last 20 years. But I would say that San Francisco 49ers team, for my money, I would say that maybe they're right up there with them. But you definitely can make an argument for it, Ryan, no doubt. Ben Cornett says, with the tight ends being used more as receivers and defensive rule changes, cover two pretty much stopped being used as a main defense. And that was why I think the Bucs, when we have Lovie Smith a couple of years back, and the Buck fans were thinking we're going to go back and we're going to put the gang's going to get back together again. Of course, not the gang. I mean, the players that played on the Tampa 2 under Tony Dungy and then won the Super Bowl under John Gruden. But we thought that we were going to, but the league was going away from that. I mean, we'll still see teams go to a cover 2 formation. They'll still use that. But as far as like a base formation, no, you're entirely right. Definitely. That time has passed. Eric Hardnett says Winfield Jr. is a beast tonight. Get 1 and 1 sack. All right. Hey, we get that. That's what Joshua Cole Allen here says he agrees. Misador says, dang, fat finger, 76-78. Yep, definitely. Misador also says, Ryan Allen, nobody likes you. Oh, come on. We don't want to get there, guys. Eric Hartnett says Shaq Barrett will be the X factor of the defense tonight, and Devin White. Love to see Shaq continue going on. We saw him get up. We saw him get off in Denver. We see the defense starting to come into their own. Don't fall asleep. Nick Foles at quarterback, and I made a post this week on Facebook. Of course, the last time we played in 2018 against the Bears, Mitch Trubisky made the Bears defense. Of course, that was that Mike Smith dumpster fire of a defense. But, man, he threw for 5 touchdowns, 300 yards. I think it was like 25 of 36 or maybe even less. But they were basically running wheel routes all day on the Bucs defense. So don't look for that to happen tonight. But the Bucs have to apply that pressure. Stop the run game, but apply that pressure, because you get Nick Foles hearing footsteps in the pocket. Now, Nick Foles can throw a pretty pass. And that's kind of Nick Foles' deal, right? When he wins the last time he played against Brady was in the Super Bowl, right? Super Bowl 43 or 53, 52. 53. Anyway, so he's playing he goes in and finishes the season out for Carson Wentz, who's injured, and wins MVP of the Super Bowl. he gets the advantage in that game over Tom Brady. Look for Tom Brady to be wanting to get his revenge tonight because we know how Tom is, right? Tom, I hate to say he holds a grudge, like he's nasty about it, but yeah, he's a gamer. He wants to win that game. Look for him to try to get that game back that Nick Foles won in a Super Bowl when he was quarterback with the Eagles. And you know what's going to break my heart is if they run that Philly special. Of course, it's not the Philly special. It's going to be Chicago, but where they try to run it past, they take the Buccaneers' aggressive defense coming in, and they end up trying to run a Foles pass. But you know what? I say that if you see Foles kind of pitch the ball off or throw a backward lateral and tries to go out into the flat, Devin White just slays him out. So that would be great. Yeah, I take the personal foul 15 yards if it means footing it. You try to run that on us? No, not on us. We don't. But what I was trying to say was look for the Bucs defense to not let Foles get comfortable because he will make completions. Nick Foles has a good touch. He's not so much a team rah-rah team leader. And in fact, maybe the Bucs defense makes him look so bad or play so aggressive that maybe Mitch Trubisky gets back in there again tonight. But again, this is Todd Bowles' defense, not Mike Smith's defense. So don't look for Mitch Trubisky either to go in there and be throwing those wheel routes again all over that Buccaneers, especially not this secondary, especially not in 2020. Eric, let's see here. Ryan Allen says, don't worry, Sadors. I took Brady tonight. Christopher Cole says the 79 Bucs was the dominant defense. I know that I was only 3 years old, and that's what YouTube is for. But Christopher, you're right. I mean, take it from someone who was at those games, and we had the red towels with the numbers because back then we didn't even have a nickname. Of course, we stole from the Denver Broncos that we called the Buccaneers defense. We were like the second coming of the cardiac kids because that Bucs defense, John McKay would get a 3-point lead, whether it was 3-0, 10-7, or 13-10, and we'd go into a prevent defense in the third quarter because that defense was so stingy. But it was a great defense, and Leroy Selman could not be stopped. I mean, there was nobody in the league that could stop Leroy Selman off the end. He was a man among boys, and he would come in and get off. And, of course, we know that he had the back injuries, which, limited his career, so he retired a little early. But for the years that we had Leroy and, got Leroy's above now, and for the great things he did for the community, we're always going to love Leroy Selman. One of a kind. Never be another Leroy Selman here in Tampa Bay, but he could not be stopped. That 70 Dave Logan at nose tackle, and then Mark Cotney, and then Richard Batman Wood. That 79 defense. Go ahead and use that YouTube, Christopher, and you'll see that. Yeah, that 79 defense was great. Ben Cornett says, "Who wears short shorts?" Peter wears short shorts. God, now I got that song in my head. Johnny Dean says, "#1 ranking." Not sure exactly what we're talking about. Ben Cornett laughing my butt off. I almost posted the same thing, but those legs were so white I was blinded and couldn't see my keyboard. Eric Harden says Bucs got best run. They do. And so let's see here. Andrew Faubert says, Ray, hey, Andrew, big board brother, how you doing? I hope we're going to hear from you tonight in a post-game show. Misador says, Ryan Allen, don't you dare. You are the kids of death. I think it means the kiss of death. But, yeah, of course, next one, Misador says kiss of death. Eric Harden says, see lots of blitz today. Yeah, Ray Kennedy, Johnny Dean says, Ray Kennedy, tell him that it's a snow day. I have no idea what that means, but it is a beautiful day out at the Deck Bar and Grill. I was sweating because they've put these sails up, right? Because when we first not negotiated, but when we got with the Deck Bar and Grill here at Isla del Sol, and they were going to be our official game day sponsor for all of our Bucs Report, they said we're going to put sails up out here, and we're going to put 55-inch televisions. And they've got these 55-inch televisions out here. And tonight, every television in the place, there'll probably be one TV in the back corner with the Rays-Yankees game on, because you got to recognize, you got to have your eyes on the prize a little bit. But every TV and all these 55-inch televisions out here under these sails are going to have the Bucs games. And I see all these cars starting to come in the parking lot, and everybody's walking up wearing Bucs gear. It's Buccaneer game night. It's Thursday Night Football. Get excited. Knock on wood. Let's do this. Let's get the 4 in a row. Philip Schwegler says, keep my seat warm, Ray. Be there in a few hours. Right there, Mr. Phil. Right there, brother. Isador says, Brian Greasy was the last Bucs to win at Soldier Field. Wow. And now Brian's on Monday Night Football. Brian's at Monday Night Football. That was rude. It's mostly water. Just a lot of Jim Beam. No, it's water. But, yeah, it's funny. We talk about Brian Greasy and how Brian Greasy played, to go back to an old story, with Tom Brady at Michigan. And Brian Greasy was a quarterback at Michigan when Tom Brady was there. And how things are cyclical, right? We go through things, and now you got Brian Greasy on Monday Night Football. Of course, the former Buck. And he was the last, and Meesedor says he was the last Buccaneer quarterback to win at Soldier Field. So let's go ahead and, since the two of them went to Michigan together and Tom Brady's now the Buccaneers quarterback, let's let Tom Brady get that win over Nick Foles that he didn't get in a Super Bowl a couple of years back and get a victory tonight. And now he'll be the next Buccaneer to have a victory at Soldier Field. Andrew Faubert says, my kids don't even get snow days. I'm sure they don't. I'm sure you got them out there plowing the snow, Andrew. Philip Schweigler says, Brady is 7-0 on Thursday Night Football. I saw the graphic earlier. Knocking on wood on that one too, Schwags. Meesedor says, local anesthesia is an amazing thing. Scotty and M1K3 will be fine. Yeah, maybe we'll give him a little bit of fentanyl and he can get on the field. Johnny Dean says, Andrew Faubert, they would have to give out snow years to your kids. Of course, those of you, obviously, Big Board Andrew Faubert, member here of the Bucs Report, but he is our Canadian insider. He's working on getting that. He's going to be part owner of that NFL team eventually when we get one north of the border, when the Canadian Football League decides to let the NFL in there. Andrew's pulling hard for that. He's written some stories, he's published on it, published among us Bucs reporters anyway. Andrew Faubert says, top 5 greatest defenses in order: 02 Bucks, 2000 Ravens, 86 Bears, or the 84 Bears, 85 Super Bowl, as Johnny Dean was saying, the 2013 Seahawks, 72 Steelers. Man, I mean, those are great defenses. I'm going to go say it was later, the Steelers. The Seahawks in 13, yeah, the Legion of Boom. Yeah, they were pretty solid. I mean, and then that's, of course, what gets Dan Quinn the job, or at least he was the defensive secondary coach with those Seattle Seahawks later on, and then he gets the job in Atlanta, and we kind of see how that went. So anyway, just wanted to throw a shout out to him. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the comments here, guys. And so there we go. So again, want to say thank 320 Solar. Again, gain your energy independence. Power up with 320 Solar. Go to 320solar.com. We're going to have Mr. Frank Ammons out here tonight joining us for our live. We're going to have a lot of people here at our live party tonight. We're still doing the responsible thing because we're still in 2020 and we're still waiting for a vaccine. We're still wearing our masks when we're not moving around from table to table. We're still staying socially distanced, which is why, again, the Bucs Report picked the deck out here, because we're out here and we got tables. They're all 15, 20 feet apart. Nobody's really, nobody's on top of each other, and we're doing a responsible thing. Of course, Florida's in phase 3, so things have gotten a little bit where it's up to the individuals. And hasn't it been that way since March? It's up to the individuals. It's up to us individuals to be responsible, to worry about the moisture droplets, and to continue being safe, limiting our exposure to things. And we're still doing it, right? We're still kind of getting out. I'm starting to see a lot more cars now on the road here because, of course, Florida, after we get into October and beyond, we'll start to see a lot of outer-towners coming down with their timeshares, or they're coming down on vacation. And I see even them, they're coming down, they're wearing their masks, they're doing the socially responsible thing. But we're kind of starting to get back to a little level of normalcy, which is a good thing. But we still have to be cognizant of what we have to do to continue to keep that curve, right, to continue to flatten that curve and to continue moving forward, making sure we all stay safe. But just happy that we got a Thursday night football game. The bright lights are going to be on tonight. We're going to have the Bucs at Chicago at Soldier Field. Tom Brady looks to get that 4th victory in a row as the Bucs go try to get that 4th victory and still maintain first place in the NFC South. So I know I talked a little fast today. I kind of had some more stuff I wanted to bring to you, but the guys just told me that I got to get off here so I can actually help them set the rest of this stuff up so we can bring you our pregame show. And of course, there's some of you who were watching from work and you probably had it low, but that's okay. I'd be doing the same thing if there was a Bucs Report show on, which I usually do if it's Blake Anthony and Sports Talk 49, or we're doing one of our breakdowns, Nick Citro and has asked me anything. Keep it on the Bucs Report for all your content. We had great stories this week. Of course, we had Blake on with the breakdown just before my cup of Ray. We'll have the pregame show on here from the deck in just a little while. Want to thank the fine folks down here at the Deck Barn Grill for having us here for everything they've done. They've been over backwards to accommodate Buccaneer fans. So if you're in the area and you haven't decided what you're going to have for dinner, come down and get one of those delicious burgers, or join Peter, have some of those great wings. They got great food down here, the food specials. They've got the beer buckets. They've got the $3 Bloody Marys, all that Buccaneer swag they're going to give away at halftime. And don't forget, there's at least 5 or 6 places around the Deck Barn Grill here where there's a QR code. And you go up with your phone and you just take the picture, and you enter into every game. They're going to give away 1 key. And at the end of the season, one of those keys is going to start a brand new 2020 Chevy Silverado. Where else are you going to go in 2020? Watch the Bucs game hang out with the fine folks at the Bucks Report, have all these 55-inch televisions. The game is broadcast live and loud, proud. We're having a great time. So join us down here at the Deck Bar and Grill. I'm going to close it out there. You guys know how I do every time. Everyone needs to know that somebody cares. Why don't you be the one to let them know? Thank you, 320solar.com. Power up and gain your energy independence. Thank you to the Deck Bar and Grill. I'm Ray Kennedy saying see you later, and I hope to see you guys on the pregame show in just a couple of minutes. I'm going to put my old man peepers on and make sure I don't have any more messages. And no, looks like I don't. So that's the case. I'm going to say see you guys later on my next Cup of Ray.